a network of civil society.
If you see me, take me just the way I am. We could change the world because we understand. If we both are part of the same society, I could be me. Zero barriers, zero walls, zero borders, zero bombs, zero limits. By reaching our aim, zero project, the dignity of man.
Hey, if you give me chances and take me by the hand, if you let me grow and if you let me be, if we all give up our partiality, then I could be free.
Zero barriers, zero walls, zero borders, zero bombs, zero limits. Reaching our end, zero project, the dignity of man. Innovative practices and innovative policies. A network of civil society. Zero walls, zero borders, zero bombs, zero limits. By reaching our aim, zero project, zero
Okay, I'm going to take off the green mask because I'm allowed to do that as I'm speaking. Just to explain for those of you who are here in the room with us, we're doing everything very differently as my glasses are steaming up. Please wear your green mask that is in your Zero Project, Zero Conference bag when you are moving around the building and when you are sitting down. You are allowed to take off the mask when you are speaking and eating. You can do that too. Now, for those of you who do not know me, I am Caroline Casey. I am an ambassador to the Zero Project. I am also the troublemaker and founder behind the Valuable 500. And I have been moderating this conference for a long time. But today, I add a new label. I'm Zero Project's airline assistant. Look at this. Martin, thank you very much for my scarf. I am wearing a green 1980s jumpsuit to encourage me not to be so nervous because I am genuinely really terrified. This is the first time in 2 years that I have spoken physically in a room. And yeah, I've had to think about what I was going to wear on my bottoms. So hence, this is my fashion gone awry. But it is amazing to be back here and seeing some of you again. The hard thing is, can we hug each other or not? For those of us who don't want to hug, it is for everybody out there, the 4,000, up to 4,000 to 5,000 people online. You may not be in this room with us, but we are sending out that very, very well-known Zero Project family hug. We have all missed each other a huge amount over these last 2 years. And if we had known in 2020, when we gathered here, what was ahead of us, what would we have understood and known? The conference today is about accessibility. And that is about connection. Accessibility is the greatest unifier that we have. We have never understood, as much as we do in this moment, the human right to accessibility. We cannot unknow what we as a world discovered in the last 2 years. We have seen the extraordinary magnification of inequity, inequality, and injustice. And we cannot unknow that. Our yearning for connection. We have learned that we are connected every which way. That what happens to one is a reflection on what happens to another. We cannot emerge from this pandemic and forget and turn a blind eye to what we have learned. We must recover in an inclusive way when all truly means all. Not a little bit for you takes away a little bit from me. We are not defined by one part of our humanity, but by all of those parts of our humanity. And to connect with each other as human beings, despite the label, despite a color of our skin, what borders we are behind, we must ensure that every human on this planet can connect. Accessibility is not about the technology, but it is a will and a mindset to make it something for everyone. And today, we open this conference of 3 days, remembering that we are here together to uncrack or to crack the code or break the circuit on accessibility for some. Now, in these 2 years, we know that we've been behind computer screens. And a lot of the solutions that the world has used were designed with a person with disability in mind. Well, we always knew that, didn't we? That the insight and innovation comes from a different lived experience. We've proven it now. And many years we've come into this hall and said, how can we make sure that we normalize and integrate disability inclusion throughout society? And we keep waiting for our moment. And we keep hoping for it. And every year I come into this room, but it is now. We're not even hoping for it anymore. This isn't a trend. We are not a trend. We are seeing disability inclusion so many places. It was absent for so long. Accessibility right at its core. We are seeing the business world clamor to try and get ahead of themselves to do this well and right. We see policy, we see philanthropy, we see governments, we see human beings, we see celebrity and disability for the first time, pop culture. Well, this will not be a trend, and this is not just a moment. This is around system change. And the only way that we can ensure this stays with us and we never revert back to when 15 to 20% of our population were looking in a window is to work together. We have got to work together. This time, we have to work together with each other. And though we are not in this room together, and we have to connect all the way through technology, we will do this. Our time is now. Though we cannot physically see each other, all of us, I want you to remember what's so important about the Zero Project. Ideas, innovations, collaborations have happened in this room for 12 years, from the time we first came to Vienna, where families have extended and extended and extended. Do not forget that because you're not in the room. We are still here and connected. For those of you who are physically here, a few housekeeping rules. For those of you who can't see, I'm holding up a white card. In your Zero Project bag, in your Zero Conference bag, you will see or feel a piece of card. On that piece of card is your name. Now, this is sort of like school when you claim the best space in the room. Every time you sit down, you need to put this piece of card on your desk. And that is to ensure that nobody else will come and sit there on your desk. We also know that every single person in the conference has had a negative PCR test, and you will be tested right throughout the conference to ensure that everybody is as safe and as healthy as is possible. For all of those of you who have been here for many times, where does the action happen? Well, the action happens, which is really the conversations that happen outside this room. It happens downstairs. If any of you are lurking around upstairs, you shall be removed. Downstairs, and that's where the coffee is. Also, you have your vouchers for your food in your bags downstairs. Nobody's allowed to have private little meetings behind doors up here. You shall be removed. Now, on other things for the people in the room, I would like to introduce you. Pooja, will you please stand up? Pooja is my new friend. She is the timekeeper. Time is really important for us in this conference. She is going to tell me if we're going over because so much of what we're doing is online. Be on time, and when you get a flag to stop talking, you need to stop talking, which for me is always very difficult, but I promise we will try. For all of you who are here, you have two ways to enjoy the content physically. It's either in this huge room or in the room below, which is known as the press room. There will be two parallel content every day. We open this room up tomorrow at 9 o'clock and on Friday at 9 o'clock. We will close every day out with me giving a summary of the day and, more importantly, what's coming the next day. However, that's not just what we have, because we have two content online. One is the fireside chats, and let me tell you, there is no fire. Could somebody please rename the fireside chat? Essentially, it's really good conversation in chairs online, no fire. And the second is our partner channel, where our partners will be able to, or sharing their content with you. So that actually amounts to 350 speakers over 3 days. So could we just please give a round of applause to the Zero Project team? I mean, this is unbelievable. Okay, now, the other thing that we need to know is for all of us that are online or otherwise, you have loads of different ways of engaging with us, and it's through zeroproject.org. You can go through LinkedIn, you can go through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but the most important, I guess, address you need to know is our website, zeroproject.org. The second most important thing that you need to have, and I'm sorry for all this housekeeping, is download the app now. Because there is going to be changes because of the nature of how we're doing this conference. To make sure you keep up to date, get the Zero Conference app and ensure that it's downloaded. We're all here to help, but this is the best way for you to keep up. And for those of you who want to share on social media, it is ZeroCon22. Okay, I think that is it for your housekeeping. But what I do want to say to you is, here we are, back again, but in a completely different world for those of us who left here in February 2020. We are privileged for those 250 of us who are in this room. We are privileged. We are privileged for those of us who share as a part of this family globally. Make your connection worthwhile. And though I say all of this with such hope, which I do have because the stories of catching up with so many of us over 2 years and the extraordinary things that have happened, I do want us to remember what happened in COP at the end of the summer. In 2021, a minister who was using a wheelchair could not get into the building. That was 2021. We now have the chance to change that. And we will change that. But use your hearts and your heads and your relationships and your connection and bring everything you got to this privilege so that we can create a world which is fully accessible and fully inclusive of all of us. Now, we begin. Thank you, in my green suit. So it's just so hard, I can hardly hear anything. But anyway, who I am, it is wonderful to have with us today our 4 speakers who've all been given a very short amount of time to speak. But Ms. Ghada Waly, who I remember watching, you were physically in Vienna last year and I was online and I was very jealous. It is wonderful that we both are here to share the day, but I am going to read out your appropriate title to make sure I get it right. So Ms. Ghada Waly is Director General and Executive Director of the United Nations Office of Vienna and United Nations for Drugs and Crime, and holds the rank of Under Secretary General of the UN. But most importantly, you're a treasured friend of the Zero Project. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Martin Essl, the chairman of the Essl Foundation, Mr. Markus Raffer, Caroline, Casey, I'm very happy to be with you in person today. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, it's my honor to address the Zero Project Conference 2022 and to thank you for inviting me to open this inspiring event. I'm so very happy and grateful to be able to welcome you to the Vienna International Center in person once again. Disability inclusion is a human rights issue, a health issue, a social and economic issue, and so much more. It's also a priority that has always been and continues to be close to my heart. More than 1 billion people around the world experience some form of disability. We have to ensure their inclusion, not as an aspirational goal, but as an obligation. The theme that you have chosen for this year's Zero Conference, accessibility, is at the foundation of that obligation. Removing barriers is paramount to ensuring that all people of all abilities can participate equally in all aspects of life, as enshrined in Article 9 of the Convention of the Rights of People with Disabilities, which has now been ratified by more than 184 countries. Facilities, services, and information must be accessible to all. Measures taken to guarantee this should be part of any planning process, and they should be constantly revisited and updated. This Vienna International Center, where we are convening today, is an example of this approach. All entrances and most elevators have been upgraded for accessibility, and we are working on new installations, including improved ramps, railings, and lighting and alarm systems. Now more than ever is the time to dedicate our attention to this issue. And as Caroline said, the time is now. The COVID-19 pandemic has created new barriers for everyone. To those who were already facing exceptional barriers, it has only added to the challenge. According to the World Health Organization, people with disabilities are often at greater risk of COVID infection, and they continue to face additional obstacles to accessing care. The crisis has worsened inequalities between people and between countries as well. Unlike developed economies, developing and transitioning economies are not projected to return to pre-pandemic growth and output levels even by 2023. This is particularly relevant for people with disabilities, 80% of whom live in developing countries. The economic consequences of the pandemic also threaten to push technologies for equal access further out of reach in low-income countries. We need governments to work with civil society, the private sector, the UN and international organizations, young people, educators, and all stakeholders to address these challenges. Together, we must also address the discrimination, stigmatization, complacency, and resistance that too often stand in the way of inclusion. True accessibility goes beyond ensuring physical access to places or to information. It's about equal access to the opportunities that everyone is entitled to, including jobs and education. It's also about access to justice and protection in the criminal justice system, an area integral to our mandate in the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. Police stations, courts, and prisons need to be able to accommodate people with disabilities and preserve their rights and their dignity. Digitization of such services and the use of new technologies can contribute to the removal of some barriers. But we need more specific, dedicated attention and action on access to justice for people with disabilities. Beyond practical measures, accessibility is rooted in attitudes and mindsets. The surest path to granting people with disabilities access to all aspects of life is by normalizing the belief that it is achievable, necessary, and productive, and by allocating the necessary resources to make it a reality. Governments need to invest more in disability inclusion, and partners in civil society can help them determine how to make this investment effectively. It is not about special treatment. It's about fair play. It's not about a helping hand. It's about enabling people to exercise their rights. It's not about pity. It's about respect. It's a moral and legal obligation, and it's also the responsibility to make sure that the world benefits from the immense contribution that this 15% of its population has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, the most important voice in this equation is the voice of people with disabilities. They have made it clear to us when they proclaimed nothing about us without us. We must listen and work with them to overcome barriers of policy and practice. The Zero Conference is a precious platform for this dialogue. By bringing together over 9,000 experts from 180 countries, your network empowers change makers in reshaping attitudes and pursuing innovation. I look forward to seeing the bold new ideas that will be highlighted at this conference, including those put forth by the 76 Zero Project awardees that will be honored from the public and private sector as well as civil society. They are bringing valuable innovations for inclusion in vital fields such as public transport, urban planning, healthcare, workplace adaptation, and even playgrounds and games. Your efforts can mobilize much-needed attention, resources, and solutions. In the United Nations, you will find a committed partner. In 2019, the Secretary General launched the UN Disability Inclusion Strategy with a dedicated indicator for accessibility. I am fully committed to the implementation of that strategy here in Vienna through our own action plan for disability inclusion. Last year, our office held 2 events in collaboration with the Zero Project to inform and raise awareness on disability inclusion. In terms of recruitment, we have taken the first small steps on an important road by launching an initiative to employ interns with disabilities. We are also aiming to mainstream disability inclusion into the assistance that UNODC provides to the member states on drugs and crime challenges by establishing mechanisms to ensure that our programs account for the needs of people with disabilities. As the proud home of the Zero Conference, we want to meet the highest standards of accessibility and inclusion, and we look to you for support and inspiration. Dear participants, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to every one of you for your bravery, hard work, and dedication to a topic that will always be a priority for me. I would particularly like to thank Mr. Martin Essl for his unwavering commitment and for being a great partner to the United Nations in Vienna. A special thanks also goes to our committed moderator, Caroline Casey, for lighting up these conferences with her energy and sincere enthusiasm. The Zero Conference is an opportunity to bring down barriers and lift up people. This year, it is an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to inclusion, access, and empowerment, and to our promise to leave no one behind. Thank you.
Director General Waly, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much, and thank you for giving your time for being here today. You suggested, or you welcomed us to be bold with our bold new ideas. Well, I don't think anybody thinks that this group is not bold. We do bold, and we do rebel, and we do big. So you will have plenty of ideas we will report back on in the next 3 days. Now, before I go on to introduce our father of the Zero Project, I just want to also acknowledge our sponsor, UniCredit and Bank Austria. Now, we've had their support for many, many years, but actually this year, in one of our highlights for this conference, is during our award ceremony, they will be announcing a Financial Inclusion Award, which is deepening their commitment to the work that we are doing together. So I just want to acknowledge their continued friendship and support of the Zero Project. But now it's Martin. And at this stage, I mean, Martin Essl does not need any introduction. He's the reason that we're here. From a long time ago, for those of us who stood in a palace in 2010, and look what's grown, Martin. Look what's grown into this global family and this global home for so many of us. This year we have so many highlights, and please do not underestimate the growth of the Zero Conference, which now spans every country in the world and with so many of our online participants. But Martin has never, ever, ever thought small. He keeps pushing us again and again to think big. We have 73 awardees tomorrow that you'll be hearing from. We have a very special Austria Day, but that's only tiny, small highlights. The biggest highlight is this family grows and has global impact. And that is down to the heart, the tenacity, the mind, and the friendship of the fabulous Martin Essl.
So happy that you all are here with us in Vienna again. And I would like to express my deep thankfulness that it is possible to be at the UN, United Nations, for the 9th time, and actually for the 8th time in person. And it's really, we are feeling like home. And thank you so much for this opportunity. Your Royal Highness, Dear Excellencies, Mrs. Ghada Waly, Executive Director of the United Nations in Vienna, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, partners and members of the huge Zero Project network, a very warm welcome to the Zero Project Conference 2022. It is truly marvelous to see you all here in Vienna, now in person, or via our accessible live broadcast. And I send you all the best wishes wherever you are in the world. And thank you so much for joining us for this amazing conference which is now before us. For all of you who do not see me, I'm Martin Essl, the founder of the Zero Project. I'm still in the 50s with gray hairs, wearing a dark suit, white shirt, a green tie, but with a big smile in my face. It seems another lifetime ago that I welcomed our delegates here in the UN back in February 2020. And I'm sure that all of of us, these last years have not been that easy, and indeed from many, I have no doubt that it has been devastating, with tragic losses, whether of family or friends, or indeed through the experience of the illness. And whilst we were able to come together virtually last year, absolutely nothing beats seeing you all here in the flesh. We can only hope and pray that this indicates at least the start of some degree of normality. As you will all know, the Zero Project Conference 2020 took place just before the full force of the coronavirus maelstrom hits us. From what we at the Zero Project know, none of our delegates fell sick following the conference. We were incredibly lucky and felt really blessed. Because of this, as a personal initiative outside the Essl Foundation and the Zero Project, Ghada, my wife, and I wanted to donate an accessible Corona monument. A monument to celebrate this fact that thanks all those incredible people, not least in healthcare, who have contributed so much during the pandemic, and as a memorial to all those who succumbed with their lives to the virus. It is a monument, yes, but actually the COVID-19 Memorial of Hope is also a wonderful and of course an accessible piece of sculpture. Most importantly, we wanted to enable something that conveyed a message, as this name implies, of hope. Renewed hope, continuing hope, and strengthened hope. But also as a symbol of both inclusion and sustainability, being the cornerstones of a new renaissance in society after Corona. I encourage you all to take time to visit this memorial. It's situated on the Heldenplatz in downtown Vienna. And if you do, please do have your photo taken in front of it and send it to us. We should love that. And so back to the Zero Project Conference 2022. This is our 11th conference, but with the hiatus last year, our 8th at the UN. It is also our first in a hybrid format, both virtually and in person. This means that in addition to you, everyone who wants to listen and learn will be able to do so online via an accessible live broadcast. There may have been a hiatus, but we have not been slacking since spring 2020, absolutely not. Not least, we held a successful, totally virtual Zero Project Conference 2021, hosted from Vienna. This enabled the active participations of literally thousands of persons from all over the world. And our wonderful partners at Fondation Descubra-me organized online Zero Project conferences for all Spanish-speaking communities of the world. First, in 2020, focusing on the topic of inclusive education. Last year, with a focus of employment and ICT, and in May this year, between the 25th and the 26th of May, the Zero Project Conference Latin America will focus on accessibility and ICT. But now back to Vienna. Once again, we couldn't be here without the very kind cooperation of the UN itself. together with that of the Austrian Foreign Ministry and the permanent mission of Austria to the UN here in Vienna. I should especially like to thank Her Excellencies Mrs. Ghada Waly again, the Executive Director of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime and Director General of the UN Office in Vienna. As always, none of this would have been possible without an excellent working relationship that we have been able to develop together during the past almost 10 years. I think I should mention that last year, amongst other initiatives, the Zero Project signed a memorandum of understanding with the European Network of Accessible Tourism to bring greater attention to policies and practices that can serve visitors with disabilities and other travelers with specific access requirements. Given the theme of accessibility, the Zero Project Conference will highlight 76 Zero Project awardees from 35 countries who, in creating and improving accessibility for all, have demonstrated both their commitment and the impact of their work. Alongside much loved formats such as an annual award ceremony, so this conference also features some world premieres. Among others, we will formally introduce the Ambassador Circle, and the Zero Project Asia Summit will see policymakers and organizations of persons with disabilities discuss an accessibility blueprint for the region. For the third time, we were invited yesterday to co-host an event in the Austrian Houses of Parliament with the President of the National Council, Mr. Wolfgang Sobotka, where 5 selected awardees were co-presented with members of the Austrian Parliament. But back to the conference once again. As you all know, I'm not a fan of favoritism. You are all wonderful, and it is so good to see you all here in Vienna. But anyway, I should like to shout out 3 groups of you. First, from so far away, and for the first time, I believe, our friends from the Okoyama Broadcasting Corporation in Japan and their friends. Second, our amazing Caroline, founder of the Valuable 500, thank you for being our moderator from the very beginning and also our Zero Project ambassador. And third, a group of people with whom we are especially close, our friends from Access Israel. It is so good to see you all. That said, once again, it is great to see everybody here this year in the flesh. We have a great 3 days ahead of us. We have a great 3 days of us. I'm looking forward to so many of the things that are planned. We will be featuring different tracks covering innovations and insights from the public transportation system to financial inclusion, corporate strategies to national action plans, and much, much more. And there will be, of course, one of my favorites, the Zero Project Impact Transfer, presented in cooperation with Ashoka and Fondation des Courbes, with all the mentors supporting 10 fellows for expansion. And in addition, we have developed more really promising initiative of how to match our awardees with partners of our network so that new bonds can be created in Austria. There will be zero barriers, a cooperation with the Vienna Business Agency to connect with the Austrian business sector. There is Go Austria, the matchmaking approach with important Austrian stakeholders, And there is the Austrian tech community that we are currently building. Let me finish with an appeal. Our work can only be done with you, the Zero Project Network and the community. As I always explain, it is you who are really the Zero Project. The Zero Project is neither the Essl Foundation nor its core team. We are just engaged enablers who want to try to support your work. We meet to support, to form even stronger and wider connections. We will invest in that. Amongst other initiatives, we have launched a digitalization program. For this to succeed, we need your feedback and also your willingness to work with us. And as I always, we need you to nominate new projects and programs, to peer review and to vote, to come to our conference, and please invite us to yours so that we can share the experience that we jointly develop. You are the change makers and you are the power. Thank you so much for being with us. It is so wonderful to see you in person or at least online. And now, have an inspiring, great 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, thank you. You certainly have been doing a lot in the last 2 years, absolutely. And just to say thank you to everybody who is very much engaged online, and thank you for the hashtag Green Giant things I've been getting. 1980s, rock a green boiler suit, why don't you? Anyway, this is also, I guess, what is about the Zero Project, bringing the humanity into the room. And I just want to say we are running behind time, Pooja's told me, but we did start late. So we're being forgiven just this once, okay? That's it. And then we will be back on track again. Now, this whole conference is about accessibility and innovation and pushing new ideas. And there could be no better way to end our opening speakers with Markus Raffer, who is going to speak to us about his orientation technology. As somebody who is also registered blind, I cannot wait to hear what he's going to speak to, because it's about putting technology in your shoes. So could you please give a huge, warm, Zero welcome to Markus Raffer.
Ja, vielen Dank. Danke. So. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me here to be here, and a great honor to be a part of the Zero Project, of this great project and work that the Zero Project does for the whole society. So, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot expect things in your life, but you can work on them. When I always talk to people about my startup, tell them that we developed the world's first smart shoe for detecting obstacles for visually impaired and blind people, talking about that this is a medical device, class 1, and so on. I always recognize that I forget to tell them that I am visually impaired too. But today I want to start with this point because I forget it doesn't make a relevance for me, or it doesn't care me, but indeed it has a great impact to me and to my life. The disease that I have since my birth is a Leber congenital amaurosis. In Austria, there are living, for example, more than 8 million citizens and only 200 approximately who have this eye disease. So it's inherited, but I am the first one in my family that has this disease. So it's impressive how I come to this disease, because my father and my mother might have this genetic defect in themselves, but no one knew about it because they see quite normal. But together, both of them gave me this defected gene to me, and so I have the disease on it. So not even my older brother does have this disease. So that shows that you cannot expect anything in your life that happens to you. But my first big luck was exactly this, because my parents did definitely not know that I have this severe visual impairment. So my vision is only approximately 2%, 3%. So in Austria, I'm legally blind. And they recognized this in the age of 3 years. So in my first 3 years, they thought that I have a normal vision. So I grew up in the countryside. My parents had a small farm, and I were out there, like to be in the nature, be it animals, and had the possibility to grow up quite normal. There were no one behind that told, take care, you may not see it, and this enhances me to grow up and to inspire the world with my resources, with that senses that I have. And other kids may saw an obstacle, maybe I stumble about it, but the next time I had to recognize it to avoid it. So in the age of 3, when my parents knew about this, they were shocked. There were a big problem for them because they had no touching with people with disabilities before. But my mother, sure, she tried to put me in something soft and to protect me, but because out there are so many dangers. But I was 3 years and I didn't understand why I should change my life now, because for me, nothing changed. And yeah, the second luck was that I had the possibility to go in a normal primary school with normal seeing kids. And what I saw there is that technology is a big enabler for me to do all those normal things that normal seeing kids are doing. So I was the first one who had a computer in the classroom with the age of 7 years. And this was, I don't know, I had Windows 3.1, so it was one of the first computers out there. And sometimes the teacher sent me to play something because they used my computer for any other stuff. So it was quite cool to have it here. And yeah, so I had always the technology that helps me. Yeah? Later there was screen readers, for example. I had a problem when I attended the commercial college. There were so many content to learn. And I learned with my vision, so I had a magnification engine, and the words upon it were approximately 15 centimeters tall that I was able to read it. And that meant that I had maybe one word on the screen, and I needed half an hour for a small page to read it. And after this, I was so tired because it was really, really exhausting. And the screen reader, when I tried and I begin to let this read by the computer to me, I recognized this works very well. And at some point, I thought this voice could be a little bit faster, I think. So this enabled me to really learn big content very fast. And that shows me that nearly everything is possible with the right help to do out there. So also as a child, I recognized that it could be quite tough to be a surgeon or pilot or a sniper or something else, but that wasn't a big deal for me. You know, there are so many other things that could be quite interesting. After my studying of laws, where I was quite fast because of my ability of learning content very fast, I saw something in the TV, some guy that had an idea to build an obstacle detection engine inside of shoes. And this was a wow effect for me, because with this technology that I used, there was a lack for me in the field of mobility. And one key element for such a tool is that the daily life works with it. And the shoe is the deepest integration in the daily life. They are showing always in the right direction, and both hands are free. That's very important. And yeah, so I contacted him. We didn't know each other before, and we recognized that we are a very good team, and we founded this startup and worked on it very hard to develop this idea to a product, to a medical device, and to build something into a shoe that detects obstacles until 4 meters. I just wanted to show it. The small electronic engine in it. This electronic system is able to give warnings before obstacles through a vibration. You can change this from different shoes to other shoes, because inside the shoe itself there's just a metal rail left. This one is at the moment an add-on to the white cane, because we're working with ultrasound system, which always needs a reflection. And if there is nothing to reflect, then our system cannot give a feedback. For example, this is at stairs downwards. So because of this, we're always working to improve it. So I like to compare it with the first smartphone or product. It's a great innovation. It was a great information, but from the view of today, it was very big, it was very slowly, and it had very less functions. But if that wasn't there, we do not have the whole office at the moment in our back, for example. And this shows where the journey can go still. So Corona, we heard it today, is also a tough thing for us as a company still, and sometimes we ask why we are doing this. Yeah? And last week I got a call of one of our customers that told me she needs a certificate for traveling with the plane with our system, because she's traveling to the Paralympics, to China, and she really wants to have our system with her, because she no more wants to go out without the system, because she feels much safer and can concentrate on other things than obstacles out there, and she really loves the product. So this is what is motivating us to do this, to enable the people out there to go their ways. This is also the motivation for me to work together in Austria with the MVG. The MVG gives tobacco shops in Austria to people with disabilities. And that means that the MVG is making every 6 days a person with disability to an entrepreneur. And when you hear the stories of these people, then you also know why it's good that something is out there, because sometimes they got their disability late. They had a normal job, normal life, kids, bring the money home, and on the next day, for example, an accident or something else, they were disabled, and for them, in the first moment, they have no sense why they are still there. they have no idea how they should bring the money home, and they do no more see themselves as worthy. And to show them that in the 21st century, it is no big deal to live your dreams also with a disability, and to bring them to, in this case, an entrepreneur, and having employees and running their own business, they saw again that sometimes they do not recognize the disability anymore. So it's a normal part of their life. It's there, but it's not the biggest part or the most important part. So together we decided also, because of this, to found the Association of Entrepreneurs with Disabilities in Austria, to bring this model, making people with disabilities to an entrepreneur, so to show this option. Therefore, we founded this association to do this also on other branches, to share the experiences and to motivate the people to show this option. You could also, as a person with disability, you can also be an entrepreneur or running a business. Yeah, so you heard that there are a lot of technical aids out there, and also, for example, the personal assistance is a key element in my daily life. It enhanced me to do this work and to live in my favorite hometown in Carinthia. So it's approximately 300 kilometers from here, and my assistant is driving my car to the job, and the digitalization, MS Teams and so on, enable me as a disabled person to do my job also from the home and to be more flexible, and there is less barriers to do different things for me. And this, again, enabled me to do something else. So that means if the barriers are no more there is more energy and time to do what you really want to. In my case, it was to settle down in Carinthia and living the dream together with my girlfriend to building a house. And what people often don't know, we really built this house on our own. So I was there at the foundation of the house itself until the roof. Yeah. So I was covering the roof together with the roofer, and he was highly stressed with me next to him on the roof, always afraid if I'm falling down in the next moment, for example. But I told him, don't worry, because I have no interest to fall down, because I'm living my dream here and I'm highly saving every next step on this roof, because I wouldn't take this step unless I know that it's a safe one. So I want to close my session with this and wanted just to tell you that there are still many support and technical support, personal assistance still there to have a great life and to live your dreams, but there is still a way to do. So especially in Austria, we have so many bureaucracy, for example, in getting technical assistance, technology. So there is still a lot to do, but if every one of you thinks about it and keep on doing what you are doing, especially Martin Essl with the Zero project, then I think we are in the greatest way of having zero barriers anymore. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Markus. Thank you so much. I think, Markus, aside from the fact for those of us like me who use a cane, I cannot wait for this to scale so we can use it in our shoes. But also I want to acknowledge the huge, you are speaking to a room of entrepreneurs with disabilities. So to create those communities is so important, and so that we can spread that innovation. Thank you so very much. Okay, everyone. So I want to say, Tom, will you please bring up our next session up to the room? But can we give a big, massive round of applause, please, online and offline, to Director General Waly, Martin Essl, Markus Raffer, and #GreenGiant. We are officially now opened the Zero Conference 2022. Tom, I hand over to you. Please bring on up your panel. For those of you who need to know what's happening now physically in the room, you stay here for the future of work with wonderful Tom, who we all know, or you can go downstairs to the press conference for self-supporting communities. Now, we do have a little surprise coming up at 11:50, I think. So for those of you online, wait till you hear, we have a very interesting challenge for those of you before the session around orientation, maps and apps. But for now, Tom, I hand over to you. Where are you? I'm visually impaired. There you are. And Tom, to you, thank you.
Thank you very much.